Heyo, welcome back to the Undrafted and Unqualified Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Anthony. I'm here with Vinny, and yeah, we got some important things to talk about today. Busy episode, so we'll get right into it.
Yeah, today we're going to finish up our positional rankings, and we're going to do our tight ends. So 1 to 12, similar format to the other positions we've done in the past. But yeah, tight ends is an interesting one because, there really is that, 1, 2 tier of McBride and Brock Bowers. But after that, it turns into a little bit of a shit show towards that like 5 to 10 range. Like it could really be anyone. So it's going to be interesting to talk about how we rank those players.
Yeah, we're gonna start off with a fun name. Well, actually, first, before we get into this. I want to just mention a guy I personally have at 11 who didn't make our list is Zach Ertz. I'm 8 spots above ECR on Ertz, and I think he's worth taking a look on. He's in my top 12 personally. He's really boring name. Like he's old, but he could be the one in this offense. Like Terry's still unsigned. I don't know what Debo's gonna be, and then who else is there behind Debo? Like Ertz has been getting talked up in camp a lot. Like he's the number one receiver there in Washington. Jaden Daniels is a great quarterback. He had, I think, 7 touchdowns last year. Like, and his game has always been PPR. He's gonna catch passes, get yardage, and not really score a ton of touchdowns. But he scored 7 last year, and if he's gonna be the go-to guy in the end zone. I think he's going to be good again, even though he's old and boring.
No, I think he is worth mentioning for sure. He seemed to be like a reliable red zone target for Daniels. So yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, the tight end, like it could really be anyone. Like you could say anyone, and I'd be like, okay, like maybe they could be a tight end one because we've seen that those like top 4, 3, 2, 1 guys, they are so far ahead of that next person. So
Yeah.
um, I yeah, he definitely warrants discussion.
Yeah, I think a lot of the names you'll start seeing, and it could even start with Ertz. A lot of these guys that we're going to mention have opportunity. And that's really a big reason why they're making our top 12. You look down the board, like Jonnu Smith has fallen off. He's not going to be in our top 12. I'm just mentioning him. He's fallen off because he's in a crowded room. The opportunity's not there. So touchdowns and receptions aren't going to come, and touchdowns are big for tight ends too. Um, but yeah, getting into our top 12, Kyle Pitts at number 12. Starting off spicy here. I have him at 14, Vinny at 12, so he just makes it for us. ECR down at 17, ADP down at 17. So we are both right up there. We are in on Kyle Pitts. Vinny, why don't you start this one off, having him at 12?
Yeah, it just felt right. Like I know we've seen the potential from year one from Kyle Pitts, but it just hasn't seemed to be his year in terms of being healthy, being productive. He has just never been able to put it all together after that year one. And I feel like this is the first off season where we're going into a season where Kyle Pitts feels ready to go. We're actually seeing some positive things in camp of like he's pairing well with Michael Penix, like that they seem to have built a connection in camp. Um, that those factors, but then also the fact that okay, I lost my train of thought there.
Just you're talking about connecting with Penix there. You can't.
Yeah. So connecting with Penix, but then also the fact that Darnell Mooney is down with an injury right now. So obviously Drake London's the target hog in that offense, but I feel like with this Mooney injury, there's not many other options on the field on the Falcons roster aside from Pitts in a receiving room.
Ray McLeod. Like he's the number 2 right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like there could be a lot of volume for Pitts, and like we know what he is a capable playmaker. It's just having to be able to put it all together.
Yeah, we talked up Drake London in that receiver episode, right? With the rankings. Like, I think it wouldn't surprise me if he finished one overall, but just the sheer volume he's gonna get. And
Mhm.
yeah, Pitts is the clear 2. Mooney, The most recent update I've heard on Mooney is they're hoping he'll be back some point this season. That's not a good sign. So, you know, that depth at receiver is gross. I really don't like anybody there. Kyle Pitts is talented. He's 24 years old. Like, it's really hard to buy in when it's just every year. This is his breakout year. This is his breakout year, and he doesn't do it. So it's really hard to kind of go like 3 years straight and then say, all right, in this fourth time we're saying it's his breakout year, it's actually gonna happen. But he's
And
being
that
drafted in
happens
a
for tight
spot though.
ends.
It does,
That's
but
pretty normal.
I mean, we saw it with like Devontae Parker comes to mind when he broke out in year five. But Pitt's like he's being drafted in a good spot. I don't really want him as my only guy because of just what we've seen, but if you compare him, if honestly, I mentioned Ertz. I think Pitts and Ertz would be an electric duo at tight end. If you go late, like I'm not even kidding. Like you have one with a lot of upside and one who's pretty reliable in Ertz.
No,
So
that's fair.
like those two together, I think would be a lot of fun. I've also tried pairing Pitts with like a couple other guys we'll mention soon. But yeah, like if you went Loveland, he didn't make our list, but you went Loveland and you're like, oh, I want to pair Pitts with, I think Pitts makes a great pair if you're going the late round tight ends.
Yep, I agree.
Hopefully this is the year. Number 11, tight end 11, we have Mark Andrews. I have at 12, Vinny at 10. 9 in ECR, 7 in ADP. He's going very early, and I've talked about it before. I'm down on him. He's fallen to 12 for me. I know Likely's banged up, but Likely might be back week one. He might miss week one, but even still, like Andrews was in trade talks. Like there's just not good vibes around him and he's not part of the future. I don't know. I know that there's not a ton of receiving options there, which is why, like, oh, Andrews could still be a guy, but his snap count was down, his target volume was down, like everything was down last year. And I don't think it climbs back up. Career high in touchdowns last year. I think Lamar's number in total drops. So I think it also means it drops for Andrews. I just I think the numbers come down for him and I can't really see him returning value at the tight end seven. There's just so many other guys I'd rather take a shot at. A lot of the guys we're going to mention next, like I'd prefer every single one of them over. And I wouldn't even hate if you said, no, I'd rather Pitts than Andrews, just because Andrews is like, I think Andrews' floor is just so low, dude. Like, I think Andrews could finish like a back end tight end too, honestly. We were talking
Uh,
about last year when he started 3 weeks with like no points. People dropped him. People were dropping him straight up. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, he's catching touchdown after touchdown. But that saved his year. He was borderline waiver wire guy last year. So I'm kind of expecting it to be somewhat in that range again, but at the same time, he still comes in the top 12 because it's Mark Andrews. We know the talent, what it can be. We know that the touchdowns were there last year. The Ravens are an explosive offense. Aside from Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews is kind of the other guy there. So even if the counts are down, he could still be a legitimate threat, especially in the red zone.
yeah, I have to disagree a little bit. I am a little bit higher on, or I guess lower compared to ECR, but I am higher on Mark Andrews than you, I guess. I don't know. I feel like, I think that was a big overreaction last year that Mark Andrews was done. And then, like, honestly, from week six on, he went on to average close to 14 points a game. Like, he was a beast. And honestly, like, catching touchdowns could be a little bit of an outlier from last year, but like, kind of what he's done his whole career. Every season he has above 5 touchdowns at least. So like for a tight end, that's not bad. So he's always been kind of a red zone threat. So honestly, like I think that's what you want from your tight end position is someone with like touchdown upside. And while his snap count did go down, like I think that's at the tight end position at least. That's something I'm willing to gamble on is just like the guy that can catch a touchdown or two and save your week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Um, He had only 69 targets, 55 receptions last year. 673 yards. It's just it scares me a little bit that that's the total. The 11 touchdowns is huge, but the touchdowns were the reason he got up to tight end six on the year, and that
Yeah, no,
really
that's
saved
true.
him. Through the first 4 weeks last year, he had a total of 12 points. So you don't like that. But towards the end of the year, he did look a little bit better, a little bit back to form. But again, he had touchdowns weeks 10 through 18. Every week he had one except for week 11. So the consistency there, I could at least expect more inconsistency next year.
Yeah.
Number 10, we have Tucker Kraft. I have him at 10, Vinny at 11, 10 in ECR, 11 in ADP. So we're right in line here. First guy we're kind of right in line with. Tucker Kraft, Vinny mentioned him as a sleeper pick or value pick, I think it was, earlier this offseason. And at the time, I was like, I don't know. I don't really know about Kraft. It kind of feels like an outlier. And the more I got into Kraft and hearing about Kraft and everything, I'm very in on Kraft. Like late round tight end, he's a guy I'm targeting. And the reason being, outside of Kraft, it was originally like, oh, what's this receiver room going to look like? There's just so many parts. There's also another tight end in Luke Musgrave. Well, Tucker Kraft is the guy officially. Like he is ahead of the depth chart. He's the number one guy there for the tight end position. Receiving wise, Christian Watson, I think, is still banged up. Jaden Reed, they are limiting to the slot, and that's going to be his role. Dobbs is going to play the outside. Golden's going to play the outside. But Dobbs, they're not like in love with by any means. They've talked about him in trade talks in the past. They kind of just plant him on the outside, but they know they're not getting any crazy, crazy good play out of him. Um, Kraft for this reason, could be the number one guy on this team. I think it's Golden and Kraft are the two guys you want to target in this receiving offense. Reed, too, you could throw your shot on Reed because I think Reed's super talented. But I like Golden and Kraft a lot. And Kraft, personally, this guy's yards after catch, he's elite at this. And like, he had some big touchdowns last year and was like stiff arming guys and everything. He's a very good pass catcher, a very good runner after the catch. So, I just like Kraft's potential. And I heard recently, like, he had 707 yards last year. And guys to do that in year two are like elite names come out of that group. And it was like Jimmy Graham, Rob Gronkowski, just to name a few. Like the best of the best had 707 yards as a tight end in their second year and went on to be great. So I'm not saying Kraft is going to be those guys by any means, but I think there's a lot of upside for Kraft that has been overlooked really. And the receiving room is really open there, and he could be the one in that offense.
Yeah, no, I agree on a lot of that. I think he is pretty touchdown dependent, but like I just said with Mark Andrews, like that's something I'm willing to bet on with a tight end at the tight end position if you kind of missed out on those top three guys. So yeah, no, um, I agree. Yeah.
You targeting him late?
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I would say similar to like a Pitts, like stack kind of with stack a couple guys and take your shot. Because I also did just see you mentioned kind of like the how the receiving room's getting a little more uncredited. I just saw a report that Dobbs could be a cut candidate for the Packers. So that would clear up the receiving room, but at the same time, like it's just less and less mouths to feed in what was a crowded room.
Yeah. Who would they plug in over there in the X role?
Um, the Wicks.
Yeah, maybe. Or they drafted another rookie too, right?
Yeah, it was Savion Williams, I
Oh
think.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. So maybe he gets that role, but that's an interesting name to keep an eye on. If Dobbs gets cut, I mean, even more
He's
so
talented. Yeah.
Kraft, Whew. And Golden too.
Yeah, I think that's what it's more in benefit of is Matthew Golden, but
Well, I think Golden's going to be the guy regardless, honestly,
yeah.
the more I think about it. Number 9, Travis Kelce. I got him at 9, Vinny at 7. He's up at 6 in ECR. 6 in ADP. So again, another little bit of older guy we're down on, similar to Mark Andrews. But Vinny, you're kind of in line. Why you got him up at 7?
I feel like it was more of like a respect thing that like, you know, the guy hasn't finished a non-top five tight end since 2000 or in the past 9 or 10 years. So like,
2015 was the last
yeah,
time he finished.
yeah, the last time he wasn't. So I don't know. Like it's a similar offense to last year where he had a number five overall finish. Rashee Rice is, who knows what's going on with how many games he'll be able to play this year, but he will be back at some point. But it's a similar team, and it seems that Mahomes' guy will always be Kelsey as long as he's out on the field. That's just the person like his go-to guy in clutch moments, trusts him. So as long as they have that, I mean, I can't. It feels wrong to rank Kelsey out of the top five, even, but I feel like this is the year where like a steep decline could happen, but there could be a touchdown progression. He only had three last year. That's kind of where he dominated in like his big time years. So who knows? I think Travis Kelce has one more top five year left in him.
Yeah, he's 35. I guess that's my biggest worry, right? Is the age and the fact that he is slowly declining in production. I mean, you want to talk about him being Mahomes' go-to guy. He still had 133 targets and 97 receptions last year. 823 yards, only 3 touchdowns. That was a big concern, is the touchdowns, right? But the biggest thing of why he's down is assuming Rice is able to play at least part of the season. When Rice was out there weeks 1 through 3, he had 6 points, 1 point, and then 7 points. So he was doing nothing. But the second Rice goes down, he was almost back to form, you know. He had some games where he wasn't the same guy, like he wasn't elite by any means, but he was very good when Rice was gone. So if Rice does get, suspended, then I think Kelsey's actually going to be quite a good pick of where he's going. I think just personally, I'm going to end up opting to go in another direction, but if Kelsey falls because everybody's like, "Oh, he's old," man, I'm still going to grab him
Yep.
because like you said, he's still Mahomes' guy.
Yeah, no, I'm also not like actively, seeking him out because I don't think I'd rather take some more higher upside guys, I guess. But yeah, if he falls, he falls.
Yeah. The big thing is just kind of keeping an eye on Rice for me. Like if they're like, "Oh, we're pushing Rice's suspension to next year," well, Kelsey's gonna suck because they catch passes in like the same short yardage areas. So it's like only one can be productive.
Yeah.
Tight end 8, David Njoku. I have up at 6, Vinny down at 9. 7 in ECR, 9 in ADP. So I'm the highest right here. I like Njoku a lot, and the reason being is because Flacco was just named the starting quarterback. And I get it. He's probably not starting the whole season, but the talent of Njoku he's always been like this incredible pass catcher, incredible player. It's just he's often like banged up or something's going on, and he's stuck on the Browns too. That's the other thing. It's like they haven't had a quarterback that can consistently get him the ball. But what was it? I think it was 2 years ago. Flacco was the quarterback over there, and just looking at some of these stats, like he had some weeks where he was weeks 14 through 17 when I'm 99% sure Flacco was the quarterback during this time in 2023. He was the tight end 2, tight end 2, tight end 4, tight end 3. So the upside is there. Like this is an incredible player. Um and I really like Njoku as a player, always have. I think he just constantly falls and gets disrespected due to, being on the Browns. And last year he only played 11 games. He finished at 11 last year, but the potential is there. This dude's 29 years old. I think he's still got it in him. Um, yeah, I this is the type of guy I bet on the talent, and with Joe Flacco there, I love the situation for him right now.
Yeah, no, I think the Browns receiving room is pretty weak, so this guy could be a target hog, especially with Flacco, who, is capable of making those like sort of highlight plays that, aren't just the cookie cutter, playbook that rookies are getting or bad quarterbacks. So Flacco can kind of open it up so that allows, the ball to move down the field. Yeah, which benefits Njoku a lot. So if he can get in the end zone, that's kind of what determines how high he could go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Looking at his numbers last year, right? He had five last year, six the year before. So there's potential for sure. And he's a big dude. Like he's 6'4", 246. Like that's a big boy. So,
Yep,
you know, he has like it's not like he can't get in the end zone.
exactly. Yeah.
Number seven, man, I think he's climbing a lot for a lot of people. It's Tyler Warren. I have at seven, Vinny at eight. He is 11 in ECR, ADP, he's at 10, and I think he's going to keep climbing based on his preseason. The biggest thing for Warren, he's been in like playing with like all the snaps with the first team. So that's a huge thing. And he's like the focal point of the offense so far. And, as a rookie, we've been seeing how it was Laporta was a focal point, Bowers was a focal point, and some of these guys are just really talented. I think Warren is talented enough to be the one on this team. And yeah, I'm all in. I think he's going to get peppered, a lot of targets, a lot of receptions, and I think some touchdowns will be there. I don't expect it to be double digits, that's for sure. But, I think there's a lot of upside for this guy.
Yeah, no, I like Tyler Warren a lot too. Um, yeah, I think he could be a target hog, and I think also Daniel Jones being the quarterback and us as the starting quarterback there. I think that benefits Warren a lot, just and guys like Josh Downs and even Jonathan Taylor. But
Everyone.
I think it just kind of shows that their style of offense is going to be to move the ball down the field through passing and the run game of Jonathan Taylor, not necessarily all these design plays with the Anthony Richardson and not be able to trust he can't hit a basic slant route across the middle. So it's going to be a more reliable play at quarterback, which I think will benefit all of them. But yeah, Tyler Warren especially as that kind of safety net.
Mhm. I also with Daniel Jones, they said this isn't like a short-term plan. Like they're saying this is the season-long quarterback. They haven't seen the consistency. The quarterback coach, I just saw a quote actually like 30 minutes ago. The
Yep,
quarterback coach said that they haven't seen enough consistency in Anthony Richardson.
I
And,
saw that.
maybe he's improving, but I think this says a lot of, what the situation is with Richardson. He barely had any production. And so to go in the top five in the NFL draft felt really early at the time. I know the potential was through the roof, but we're now seeing that that potential doesn't always hit. And so I think Daniel Jones is going to be there for the long haul, and I think that's very good for the consistency of the offense and everybody involved. Like you said, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Downs, Tyler Warren, even
Yep.
Pittman, even Pittman. Um, Tight end six, we have Evan Engram. I have at eight. I've softened on him a little bit. Vinny at six. He's eight in ECR. He is eight in ADP. Vinny, go ahead and talk about why you got him up at six.
Yeah, I feel like, you talked about him as a value earlier on um in the off season. And I don't know, I feel like just I still think he continues to be a value. This is higher above ECR in my ranking at least. But he's just been quietly a beast these past 3 years, In 2022, he had a tight end five finish, or where is it?
He was a tight end two finish. Oh, well, yeah,
In
sorry.
23,
Yeah.
yeah. And then last year, he was banged up with injuries. So he missed like around 8, 9 games. He still averaged like close to 11, 12 points per game when he played last year. So I think this is a situation for him where like Sean Payton sought him out to work as like this kind of joker role they've been defining it as. And all of this being said, and then I just saw him in his first preseason game take a slant like 60 yards down the field. So it shows that they want to get him involved in the offense. And I believe he could have a monster year.
Yeah. Man, the more we're talking about some of these guys, like I'm kind of liking some of these mid-range tight ends more than I have in past years. Usually it's like go for the top or wait. It's like boom or bust for what you're doing when drafting tight end. But I
You
agree, like Ingram's gonna get a ton of PPR points. I have him a few spots lower just because I think um, the injuries have always been a thing for him in his career. Never want to bet on injuries, but it's always been something to be concerned about. He's 30 years old now, and the tight ends have never been there. So even in his tight end five and tight end two finishes, he only had four touchdowns each year. So that's a little bit why I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna find a zone for him around, 8. But yeah, I think like you said, watching the slant route and he's just taking it like. They
that was
just traded
crazy, yeah.
Devon Vele. Literally earlier today, they traded Devon Vele, and they got a fourth for him, which was crazy. I don't know what the Saints are doing, but it just opens up more. I think that means Mims is going to be on the outside in a bigger role, and Ingram's going to be the tight end, along with obviously Sutton as the alpha. So
You,
every single one of these guys we've talked about, they're the two or three in these offenses. So the opportunities are all there. Um, it really, I think any tight end you want to take at any point, go for somebody who has the opportunity like these guys. And like I just said, I'm starting to like these guys a little bit more than I have, in past years where it's like, oh, well, some of these guys could really suck. Um,
you.
yeah, some of these guys could all be tight end ones.
No, yeah, I just did a draft recently where, I missed out on the top three guys and I felt content kind of just waiting. And I ended up getting like Evan Ingram in the ninth round. So it
That's a
was
steal.
perfect where I figured out my whole lineup. Then I got a guy that I'm really high on in the ninth round to start.
Yeah. He's going, he's going in like the seventh. So to get him in the ninth,
Yeah,
that's
I don't know. I was lucky, but
yeah. Yeah, he's going, yeah, somewhere like that, seventh or something. Um, but yeah, I think that just goes to show like if just quick aside before we keep moving on, if guys in your draft start to fall because people are following this kind of standard that people have fallen into is take one of the top guys, top tier guys in tight end, or just wait until late. Some of these middling guys will fall. And there are some that are going a little early, I think personally, which we still have yet to mention. But some of these other guys, like you just mentioned, Ingram in the ninth, that's a great pick right there. And he's going to still have a floor, especially PPR. So, yeah, the later guys you're taking a shot on. Like Kyle Pitts is still a shot. While we think the opportunity is there and he could actually finish as a tight end one, it's still a shot. Guys
mm,
just outside. Um, Let me pull up ECR. Like Jake Ferguson at 13. That's a shot in the dark. It's CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens in that offense. Kincaid, we haven't seen production from him yet, and it's a weird room over there. Goddard, it's AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. So like the opportunity for all these guys we've mentioned, like there's a lot more enticement with some of these guys in the middle round. So if you're waiting, there's a lot less options than there have been in past years, like Laporta 2 years ago, where he was like tight end 20 something.
yeah. Yeah, no, the middle group is tough to read sometimes, but like you said, play the board.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If they fall, take them. Um, Tight end, where are we? Tight end five. So these top five, we just happen to have all of them in the same spot. So tight end five, we both have TJ Hawkinson there. ECR, he's at 4. ADP, he's at 5. Yeah, we're starting to hit chalk. TJ Hawkinson, though, he's always been a PPR machine. He's a very, very good player. These
Mhm.
tight ends out of Iowa, man, they're always productive. And we kind of look at the situation where he's now in a full healthy season with Minnesota. Um, Justin Jefferson's the one. Jordan Addison is currently hurt, or sorry, not hurt, suspended. So that's 3 games he's suspended, and they're talking about they're looking in the receiver market right now. So I don't know what that means for Jordan Addison, but he could be on the way out. They might be trying to bring a new name in, but TJ Hawkinson's probably the two. And JJ McCarthy, yes, he's going into year two, but he was hurt his whole rookie season. So he's technically playing like a rookie, and they love the tight ends. So I think he's going to be a safety blanket, and touchdowns are possible with him too.
Yep. Yeah, well, I think with Addison it was an injury, which is why so I think that was a bigger issue there. But yeah, I completely agree. I think the big thing for me is McCarthy at quarterback. I don't think like people compare like, oh, so he made Sam Darnold good. Well, Sam Darnold had a lot of years in the league as well. Excuse me, sorry, I was going to sneeze. But Sam Darnold had a lot of experience in the league as well prior to that game. So I don't think they're going to have JJ McCarthy just coming in slinging it downfield to Jefferson every play. Like that's going to take time. The guy's still a rookie. There's a difference between a rookie and Sam Darnold, whatever you think about Sam Darnold. So, yeah, I think he could be used as a safety blanket, and he could kind of use that PPR skill that he's had in years past to his advantage this year.
Yeah, yeah, he is a PPR machine. So if you're playing in full PPR, he's probably going to be really valuable. Kind of feels like a little bit like Ingram with that PPR floor. Just I think he's a lot safer of a pick than Ingram.
You
Tight end four, we have Sam Laporta. We both have him there. He's 5 in ECR, 4 in ADP. Laporta's just he started turning it up again at the end of last year. We saw him finish as the tight end one his rookie season 2 years ago. He's elite. He's a very, very good player. I think the thing with Laporta is he kind of feels like touchdown dependent, kind of like Mark Andrews. So he's just younger, better player, and he's on the field all the time. Um, in a, I think, a more explosive passing game. I know Lamar was elite passing the ball last year, and there were a ton of touchdowns, but Goff is going to sling it a lot still, even without Ben Johnson. So you have Amon-Ra on one side, Jameson Williams, and then you have Laporta. I think those three are all going to get a ton of volume. There's also Swift. But yeah, because there's so many guys there, I think you do have to rely on touchdowns a little bit. But the volume, the amount they throw the ball, I think there might be enough to go around where all of them can be very valuable this year.
Yeah, no, it was really encouraging to see Laporta kind of recover a lost fantasy season at the beginning because he was coming off the tight end one overall, so he had a lot of hype going into him, sort of similar to like what Bowers has going on for himself right now.
Mm.
But yeah, so he had a lot to follow up, and he showed that it is possible to continue what he was doing, which yeah, at the end of the year he was averaging close to like 15 points per game. So I mean, yeah, it's all there. It just kind of it is a crowded offense. Gibbs, Montgomery take all the touchdowns. Amon-Ra takes all the yards. JMO takes the deep balls. So like there's not much left for Laporta. That's the biggest worry with him. But like we said, it's such an explosive offense that there is so much to go around where Laporta can return top five upside for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, he turned it around. My biggest worry is that there's not enough to go around because when he was off to a slow start, he wasn't getting targets at all. Like he he had 5, 3, 2, 4, 1, and 2 during their first 6 games of the season. And then after that, he saw 6 and above all but one week. So I guess It's just we need to see those targets stay there at least like six or higher for him to return on production. But
Yeah,
while he was doing that, like you said, towards the end of the year, he had a lot of very good finishes. He helped me secure another championship. So, yeah, it's we just need to see those touchdowns there still, because if they're not, it could get a little sketchy for him this year.
yeah,
He's actually again, before we move on to the top three, he's the name, him and Hawkinson, I think are going too high for me personally. Those are the two where like we're hitting these middling tight ends. And while I like taking some of these guys like Ingram, Warren, and Joku, Kelsey, Kraft, like all those guys we mentioned, they're all going so much later where you're not missing out on guys. Whereas like with some of these tight ends, like I'm gonna pull up exactly who's going around them. So, um, give me one second. Laporta, the next guys up who you're missing out on by taking Laporta. You're missing out on Xavier Worthy, Devontae Smith, Rashee Rice, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, Jamison Williams. Tet's going a few spots later. Hawkinson, the guys you're missing out on are Baker Mayfield, Travis Kelce. Well, Kelsey's in like the same spot, but well, I guess you could fit him in this category then too because he's right there. RJ Harvey, Calvin Ridley, Isaiah Pacheco, George Pickens, Travis Hunter. Like there's a lot of names here that you have to spend to get one of these guys. And it's like, do you really think they're going to finish that high in return on value if you're taking them at that spot? I guess that's the most difficult thing. Kelsey's going a lot higher than I thought, honestly, reading that out loud. So I'll probably be out on Kelsey too. But like you getting Engram in the ninth, the guys you're missing out on at that point are like backups. So
exactly. It's all shots in the dark, and I believe that Evan Ingram, or in that spot, and I believe that Evan Ingram could be not a shot in the dark. He could be an elite talent at that position.
mhm. Yeah, you took Engram in the ninth, who was probably like the ninth or tenth tight end off the board, if I were to
Yeah,
guess. And
yep,
he could finish, in my opinion, at four, where and Laporte is going what, 5 rounds earlier? So
yeah,
yeah, I think that's the kind of situation. Getting into these top three guys, though, these I think I'd be shocked if any of them finish outside the top three because I think they're just so far and above the rest. Um, yeah, we'll get into that right now. George Kittle, number three. He's three in ECR, three in ADP. Feels pretty standard. Kittle is kind of the only guy in San Francisco right now. He was elite last year. His average like points per game were unreal. I think he was the one. He finished at two behind Bowers, but he was ridiculous last year. Now Debo's gone. Ayuk is hurt. Juwan Jennings is hurt. Ricky Pearsall is there, but there's nobody else. Christian McCaffrey's there, great, but the rest of their running back room, literally the next five are all injured. So it's Kittle, and they're going to utilize him a lot in games with Purdy. He's averaging like the most points per game by a lot at the tight end position. He's going in the fourth round right now. Kittle is a value in drafts, honestly. He's gonna get so much production. He can catch passes, catch touchdowns. Like, yeah, I really like Kittle this year, and I think there's no reason to have him any lower than three.
yeah. Kittle's an interesting one because he's super consistent. He plays top five football at the position every year, but it's one of those ones where you still have to pay a little bit of a premium, but it's honestly at a spot where it's in the fifth round maybe, where I'm honestly okay drafting George Kittle there. He's super consistent. The guy puts up 200 points a season the past 5 seasons at that position. So like that's elite territory. It's elite scoring. That's like top three upside right there. So yeah, I think he does it again, like you mentioned. Pearsall's kind of the one there now. But hasn't been able to stay healthy. Juwan Jennings figuring out contract stuff. So it's Kittle and C-Mac. And yeah, he is Brock Purdy's guy. So yeah, a bunch of upside for him.
Yeah, even with Pierce all at the as the one at receiver, Kittle's still the one in the receiving room, I think.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Kittle's going at the 402, which I'd be fine taking him in the third. Like if you're getting the tight end one in points per game with Brock Purdy, I don't mind taking him there. The
Yeah,
next two guys I think are also like all of these three, personally, I think could be interchangeable. We'll get to why the next two are higher for us, but like these three are the elite of the elite this year. Last year there were five of them. Um, Off the top of my head, it was Laporta, I believe Kelsey, Mark Andrews, Trey McBride, and Dalton Kincaid. And we knew we were right on some of them, but it was a much smaller or it was a much bigger list with those five. And the only
yeah,
one who finished that high was Trey McBride. The rest finished below that. So
yeah,
it 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 feels a little scary saying this year, like, oh, these three are going to be elite. But when you look at the numbers, these three have been the most consistent, and I think will continue to be.
yeah.
Number two is Trey McBride, two in ECR, two in ADP. Yeah, what you got on McBride?
I feel like for me, Bowers was the easy one. And McBride, super, monster season last year in terms of volume, receptions, yards, like had 1,000 yards, 80 plus receptions, like
He had
140.
111 receptions for
Yeah.
1,100 yards.
Okay. Yep. So monster year, but the touchdowns weren't there. That was always the problem. And like if he had the touchdowns, it would have been tight end 1 year, like Mont's crazy year. But I'm starting to see stuff that like this guy just might have a touchdown problem. Like he wasn't much of a touchdown scorer in college. He only has three total touchdowns in 3 years in the NFL, I think.
He had
Um, or he
two
had two last year in
two last year, three the year before, one his rookie year.
okay, okay, so six touchdowns.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It just like, we saw the consistency with Brock Bowers, who he was a target everywhere. It didn't matter where you were on the field. But McBride is that. He's Kyler's guy, obviously trusts him. But in the red zone, I just feel like that's Marvin and James Conner. So, I have no problem taking McBride. I think he, just because of the pure volume from receptions, he's worth it.
Yeah, I think you could kind of say, well, okay, well, we're talking about him just having the PPR points, but no touchdowns. Why don't you have him lower with like Evan Engram or TJ Hawkinson, who we've already mentioned? Well, McBride is 25 years old, finished at two last year with only two touchdowns. And we're talking about maybe he has a problem, but even if he gets up to five on the year, like that's still not great. He could finish at one with just three more touchdowns. And I think at some point, like this number is going to go up. I do agree it's Marv and James Conner, but yeah, I kind of think we're we're saying that there's a possible he could finish better than he did last year's. It's almost unreal to say, but I think that's very much in play. And yeah, McBride's another guy. If you can get him, get him.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we have Bowers at one. Yeah, I'm gonna pull something up while you start talking about him.
Yeah, you know, I think is kind of going to turn into the Kelsey of this new generation where
Mhm.
he's just a monster, like putting up 100 receptions, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, like all of that is in the realm of possibility. With Gino at quarterback, I think that helps him a lot. uh, so much of a better situation than they had last year. And Brock Bowers was still putting up ridiculous numbers with these bums at quarterback. Aiden O'Connell, it was Minshew. I don't even know
I
who,
think,
but
yeah,
yeah, just these absolute bums. And he was still putting up monster numbers. He's just gets open, yak, red zone, touchdowns. He does everything. And then you give him Gino, who likes to sling the ball around downfield, especially. Not, they have Jacoby Myers and obviously want to run with Genty, but it's him. Like Brock
yeah,
Bowers is that next Kelsey and a guy that I trust that by this time next year, I think he'll be a back end of the first round pick.
Yeah, I genuinely believe he's the next Kelsey too. Like this guy is so talented. Like he comes in and if you said he is the best tight end in the NFL, I sure. I'm
Yeah,
okay with that. I'm
yep,
okay with that. This
absolutely.
guy, oh man, I just lost these stats. But he finished as the one last year as a rookie. He's 22 years old. He's younger than us. And he's a unit. He's 6'4". He had so many targets last year. He also, he had 112 receptions for 1,194 yards, only five touchdowns. That number can go up because this offense is better. So I think that just opens up opportunity. But I wanted to bring up these stats. I saw the fantasy footballers put this out today on their social media.
Mm,
So it's no arguing that Brock Bowers was an elite tight end last year, but let's contextualize his receiving stats among wide receivers. All right. This just blew my mind and solidified the fact that, all right, his ADP is currently 17th overall. So the 205. And I'm okay with that because of these stats now. 27% targets per route run. Okay. Slightly ahead of Justin Jefferson, who
jeez.
was the wide receiver two last year, by the way. 112 receptions. Third in the league, behind only Jamar and Amon-Ra. 10.8% first downs per route run, which was the same as Justin Jefferson. And his 5.35 yards after catch per reception was the same as CeeDee Lamb. We're talking about you're getting basically an elite wide receiver at the tight end position. If if
Alpha.
if I pull up stats, okay, I'm gonna go into leaders of last year, and if we look at stats for 2024, love sleeper, you can put everything in here. If we look at wide receiver, Jamar Chase was the one by a lot. He had 420 points. Um, Justin Jefferson had 323, Amon-Ra 319. Where Brock Bowers would have come out with 265 points, that would have been good for the wide receiver nine on the year. So you're putting him at this is a positional advantage because it's a tight end. You're drafting him. You're getting him in the mid second where the tight end nine or the wide receiver nine is currently going in drafts.
Yep,
That's a great spot. You're getting Bowers at the right spot, but you also get the positional advantage, not just a receiver who you could find plenty down the board who end up producing. So, yeah, Bowers is that dude. He's the next Kelsey. I agree with you.
yep.
Very exciting to
Yeah,
have on your team this year.
yeah, and he's definitely someone that I'm kind of targeting. It sucks that you kind of need a certain pick to be able to get him because, at the first round, end of the first, early second turn, that's a little too early in my mind.
Yep.
But I guess if you want to get your guy, but it's really like mid second, like you mentioned. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I think he's going to be a monster. And yeah, deserves to be the number one spot.
Yeah, I have the pick 103 in one of my leagues and 12 team. I have no idea who I want with that first pick yet. I'm between a couple guys. It's tough because it's who's going to be there on the turn. Well, if Bowers is somehow there, well, maybe it doesn't even matter if I go running back or receiver because I'm going to go tight end anyways, and then I'll figure out the rest on the way. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I kind of would love Bowers there at the end of the second, and
that you go CD Bowers or Saquon Bowers, like that's a nasty
yeah,
start.
exactly. So I kind of feel like either way, I've been leaning like Saquon because or CD, so I have a top 10 receiver, but I kind of don't care if I have Bowers. Let's be real.
Yeah, he is a top 10 receiver.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that'll wrap up our tight ends. With just a couple minutes left before we close the show, we're gonna do a little bit of news, I guess, with Brian Robinson being on the trade block. There's a good chance he's gone. I hope he doesn't get traded. well, he will, but wherever he goes, he kind of ruins the running back situation for that team. It just muddies the waters, I think. Um,
Yeah.
so just keep an eye on it. Hopefully, it doesn't screw up your draft if you've already drafted. If you haven't drafted yet, keep an eye on if he gets traded before then. But how do you feel about Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, Bill, as he goes by?
Boo.
What do you think about Bill?
Um, I think the hype is getting a little too out of hand. Um, Austin Eckler is still there. He's well past his days of like being a workhorse and that RB1 um production that he had. But I mean, this Ja'Cory Krosky, I think he was a seventh round
He was the
pick.
last running back in the draft in
Yeah,
this.
seventh round pick. Um, he's not very young either. Like I think he's only 1 year younger than Chris Rodriguez, who's also in that backfield.
Yeah.
So, and Brian Robinson's still there. Like we don't know what's happening with that. And so I don't know. I feel like it's just like people are just assuming, oh, as the depth chart thins, he's just gonna go up. Like I don't know if that's a guarantee. So yeah, someone took him in like the eighth round in my league the other night. The hype's gotten a little too much, but I'm not really interested in him unless it's like super late and it's like a bench shot. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he'd be like a last round flyer for me. But like you said, he's currently behind Chris Rodriguez in the depth chart. Like this is a
yep.
perfect example of don't overhype the preseason, right? I think you have to kind of hype up Travion Henderson based on the
Oh
preseason.
yeah.
An
Well,
overhype would be like, oh, he's in my top 12 rankings now. Like
but
we
the
didn't know.
capital is there. The draft capital is there.
Right. But my point in saying this is that we're still not overhyping him, and the community is not overhyping him either. Maybe he's going around early, which I think could be okay. Still a little overhyped in my opinion, but Bill, this dude, like all of a sudden,
Uh,
Brian Robinson is in trade rumors, and we're like, oh, this guy's got the job. It's like, well, hold on, let's look at the situation face value. The
yeah,
reason I
exactly.
wanted to bring this up, I think Eckler's a value. He was very productive on a per touch basis last year. And yeah, he's passed his running back 1 days, but I think he could be very good this year for fantasy, especially where he's going. So,
Yeah, I
you're
agree.
talking about maybe a top 24 guy in the lead back in this offense, and you're getting him in the late rounds, like double digit rounds, because everybody's hyping up Bill, who had he played what did I hear? He played 13, like he had like 13 touches in his final year in Arizona, and he looked great, but like that was it. So I don't know. Like he doesn't have it kind of feels like Anthony Richardson to me. Like he doesn't have the production. The ceiling
Mhm.
is there, but he doesn't have the production. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm out on Bill unless it's like the last round.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what's going to happen because he did look okay in the preseason, but
Yeah.
like that's preseason,
Right.
right? So
Right.
I'm
Don't
curious
overhype the
though.
preseason,
I'll
please.
let other
Everything you
people bet
see.
on it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a perfect example there. Don't overhype the preseason.
exactly.
But yeah, that'll do it. The next episode, we are doing the My Guys episode. We're planting the flags, three guys each, who we are in on, guys we are looking to draft, where they're going, in their respective spots, guys we think are going to return and probably outperform their value right now, guys we think will be productive. I will touch upon the three guys I did on my own last year, not on a podcast or anything, but just I planted the flag for myself just because I like doing that. But now I get to put it on to the podcast out there somewhere, record it. We'll see how I do. But I'll bring those three up before we start the episode next week. But we'll have a lot of fun talking about those guys in the next episode. But until then, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.
Peace.